Hello, I'm Don Mitchell. Welcome back to Business Basics, the book that teaches you how to lead a company or a nonprofit organization that can accomplish more than 8,000 times more than organizations typically do. Today we'll be looking more at ways to add more customers or more beneficiaries, something we entitle in Lesson 19, to implement beyond the future best practice, something we discussed in our last lesson. Let me begin as always by quoting from the Bible, in this case, the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 10, verses 14 through 16 in the New King James Version. For we are not overextending ourselves, as though our authority did not extend to you. For it was to you that we came with the gospel of Christ. For not boasting of things beyond measure, that is, in other men's labors, but having hope that as your faith is increased, we shall be greatly enlarged by you in our sphere, to preach the gospel in the regions beyond you, and not to boast in another man's sphere of accomplishment. This lesson is based on step 4 of the 8-step 2000% solution process, implement beyond the future best practice. You can also find material about the subject in the 2000% solution, the portable 2000% solution, and the 2000% solution workbook. Exceeding future best practice is often accomplished by combining more current and future best practices than anyone else has. This way of exceeding the future best practice is explained by using the iPhone example that was first brought up in Lesson 18. If you don't remember that example, I suggest you reread or listen to that lesson again now. To make it easier for you to keep the key information from Lesson 18 in mind, here are some of that lesson's more universal principles for market expansion or beneficiary expansion, either one. Make offerings seem transparently familiar rather than strange and unusual, even when the offerings are quite new in concept and execution. Second, create universal awareness among potential customers or beneficiaries by obtaining validations from recognized experts. Third, focus first on those who already know they want something new and improved that's not available elsewhere. Fourth, make it very easy to see how your offering works, to try it out and to buy or use one. Fifth, create a lot of visible use of your offering so that those who are curious can ask a customer or other beneficiary about it. Sixth, be sure your offering works flawlessly from the beginning. Seventh, either have a terrific reputation for reliability or partner with someone who does. Eighth, design your offering so one can start by spending an amount of money or time that doesn't seem extravagant. Nine, be sure that customers can easily return to something that will work fine for them if they have problems with your offering. That will give them more confidence to try your offering, particularly true of beneficiaries. Here are two potential dimensions for exceeding the future best practices measured by the iPhone's sales results. First, expand the market by more than the iPhone did. Second, achieve greater sales results than the iPhone did in the first few months by generating such sales in just a few minutes. I advise you not to stop with considering just these two dimensions. I add several other potentially interesting dimensions, including possibly 3, accomplishing the sales at much less expense. 4, gain profits that are greater than what the iPhone did or more resources that can be applied for beneficiaries. 5th, use the industry expansion breakthrough as a platform to create a second 20 times market expansion or benefit expansion thereafter. 6, expand customer and user benefits so much that the financial ability to afford your offerings is increased by several 100%. 7, extend substantial benefits to those who aren't stakeholders. I particularly encourage you to pick dimensions to focus on that are exciting to you, your organization, and to potential customers and beneficiaries. How might Steve Jobs have expanded his focus for expanding the industry along these 7 dimensions while launching the iPhone? Well, here are some possible examples for you to consider. First, sales reaching the iPhone launch totals might have been accomplished in a few minutes by offering time-sensitive incentives. For instance, Apple could have promised to provide free months of service to those who bought in the first 5 minutes, with the size of the discount tied to how many people signed up during that period of time. Thus, all those who thought they might ever want the iPhone would have had an incentive to buy then, to encourage others to do the same. This possible approach is a large-scale version on the Groupon concept. Second, a larger market expansion could have been achieved by allowing customers to swap their old cell phones and personal digital assistants along with the service contracts for immediate 100% credit against the top cost of the iPhone and its service. Such an offer could have been combined with a guarantee that would have made it easy for the customer to return to the old device and service contract if unhappy with the iPhone. Third, the cost of the launch could have been reduced by making the initial price lower. Apple dropped the price of the iPhone by over $100 within a few months. Early customers were outraged, and Apple eventually agreed to refund that amount of money to mollify early purchasers. This way of pricing was a mistake. The price discount of $100 when first announced would have allowed the company to achieve the same economic result with a less expensive launch, and thereby increase sales and profits. Fourth, the iPhone could have been made much more profitable by adding many related features that could have been sold at a high profit margin, thus the ability to download vast quantities of music from iTunes, the Apple Music Store, a capability that initial iPhones lacked. Fifth, the second market expansion could have been made possible by letting iPhones with enormous amounts of extra memory capacity. Many more software applications could then have been sold as part of the second expansion that provided new functions. Apple could have become a dominant factor with expanded capabilities in major markets such as electronic gaming, selling to individual users thousands of dollars worth of games and other applications for the iPhone. Six, the iPhone obviously creates the potential for increased productivity, but such productivity gains wouldn't be enough to improve the initial affordability of buying iPhones and related services. Such a desirable social benefit might have been accomplished by providing free or low-cost education in how to earn thousands of dollars more each year by using an iPhone. To understand how to gain such proven benefits, some people would have been willing to stretch financially, even borrowing money if necessary to purchase, knowing that using the iPhone would give them more than enough extra funds to offset the initial cost. Seventh, social benefits for non-stakeholders could have been provided by establishing ways that iPhones could be accessed for temporary and short-term use, such as pay landline telephones are now. Making such utility available would have expanded the market. A possible approach could have been to offer pay-as-you-use-it services to those who provided a valid credit card or preloaded smart card. Entrepreneurs could then have rented out the units for short-term use in areas such as airport waiting lounges and for just a few days to try out the service. Obviously, any company that combines several of the 7 dimensions I've just described could then exceed the future best practice in growing a market by a wide margin. As you consider expanding your market by 20 times, attempt to improve on each of these 7 dimensions, plus any other beneficial market expanding dimensions that you can conceive of. So here are 4 assignments for you. First, how could the iPhone launch have been made even more successful than I have just suggested in terms of the 7 dimensions just described? Second, how could you apply Apple's methods to exceed the iPhone's launch with future offerings in your industry? Third, what methods of market expansion described in previous lessons would work better for introducing your offerings than what Apple applied for the iPhone launch? Fourth, what dimensions of exceeding the future best practice in market expansion could you employ that Apple ignored with the original iPhone? So I hope this has been an exciting and revealing lesson for you, and I know you'll be back soon to hear even more exciting and powerful ways to expand your market. For the meantime, may God bless you, your family, and all you do in the name of Jesus. Goodbye for now. Take care.